All right, guys, so today we're talking about kind of a serious topic. At the time of recording, this is the beginning of 2026, and there's a lot going on. We've had a couple of government shutdowns over the past 12 months. We've seen mass layoffs. We've seen a lot of things coming. And at this point, a lot of people are planning weddings. You're planning, in most cases, the most expensive event you've ever planned in your life, the most important event you've ever planned in your life during uncertain economic times. So I want to share with you 3 tips that you can use to help you to be a little bit less stressed and also just to guide you overall in planning your wedding through uncertain economic times. All right. Now, before we get too far, my name is Faye Shola. I am a 15-year wedding planner. I started my wedding planning business 15 years ago. We've been producing events across the US, particularly in New Jersey and the DC area for 15 years, and we love what we do. We also have a sister company, Wedded Details, which is available to everyone for very affordable wedding planning services, not just a course or a membership, but an actual service to help you with planning your wedding. So this is what we do. It's been my passion for a long time to create something that's accessible for everyone, and it's finally here. So a little bit more about what it looks like to plan in uncertain times, right? If you are like, I'm nervous, right? I have to make decisions that are going to affect me for the next few months while I plan my wedding. This is for you. The first tip that I have for planning during uncertain economic times is, at this point, you want to create your worst case scenario and your best case scenario plan. What does that mean? You may be someone who's like, man, I'm seeing a lot that's going on. I see a lot going on in the company I work for, and things are just a little bit shaky, right? But I'm not affected right now, but I could be in a few months down the line. I want you now to say, okay, what does this wedding look like if in 5 months I am back in the job market, right? Either by my choice or because of a layoff. What does it look like? Like, what can I sustain no matter what? Right? Because the truth of the matter is, for a lot of people, postponing a wedding indefinitely is just not an option. For a lot of people, you're just like, you know what? I want to get married. I want to marry the love of my life. Love's not going to wait. And I want to celebrate now. I don't want to wait 10 years. I don't want to wait 20 years. I want to do it now. And I just need to find a way that's going to work, right? And if that's you, I want you to be real and say, okay, even if nothing changes, if I continue with the job I have now, I can afford $100,000 wedding, right, over the next 12 months. But if something changes, then maybe now I can only afford $40,000, right? I can save over the next 3 months, 4 months, and then after that, I'm not sure what's going to happen. Then right now, I would focus on creating that plan for a $40,000 wedding. And here's the reason, and I'm going to be really transparent with you. If later on you find more money, you will find the vendors to execute it for you. In our business, we do weddings, we also do corporate events, and corporations make all kinds of last minute decisions. I'm talking 4 weeks before your wedding, you can upgrade your flowers. You can do all kinds of things, when you get closer, if you're sure that you're able to do it. So my main piece of advice here, piece number 1, is come up with your worst case scenario budget. And then if everything is going smoothly, increase your budget and start to splurge 3 months before your wedding. 2 or 3 months before your wedding is when you can just splurge and say, okay, you know what? I wasn't sure at first, but now I'm sure, so I'm going to go with it. So for example, some things that you probably cannot change 3 months before your wedding would be your venue. So you probably need to go with a venue that's a little bit more modest and that will fit within your budget. However, later on down the line, you may be able to add lighting, uplighting, draping, and all kinds of decor, floor wraps, floor carpeting. You can splurge on things later to transform that venue and make it way more elegant later on versus now investing in those things and trying to pull back later because you won't really be able to. You won't be able to get refunds, and all of those things later on. So that's my first piece of advice, is starting with your worst case scenario budget, making decisions on your worst case scenario budget. And then for some of the other things, you can delay them. You can wait until 3 or 4 months before your wedding to hire a florist. You can wait until 3 or 4 months. You can price things now and wait until you're sure you can afford it. Save the money and all that until you're sure you can afford it, and then book those things later on. You're gonna have to pay more upfront when you book later, but as long as you save the money, you'll be all set, right? So that's like my first piece of advice there. Now, the second piece of advice is going to be for you to choose one of 2 extremes. So the first extreme is a really short wedding planning timeline, meaning like I'm getting married in 3 to 6 months, or saying my wedding isn't going to be for 18 months. And the reason that these 2 extremes exist is because if you say right now, I'm willing to get married in 3 to 6 months, I can guarantee you will find venues in your area that are available and that have discounts and specials because you're willing to pull the trigger quickly and you're going to be taking on some of the dates that they have available. This may mean a Friday if you were originally thinking of a Saturday, maybe even a Thursday, maybe a Wednesday. It may mean being more flexible on your date, but I can tell you that you're going to get some really great deals. It also is a great option if you have money saved, right? If you're like, oh, I need 12 months to save up my wedding budget, that's going to be a little tricky. But if you're like, oh, I already have a nest egg, or my parents have been saving since I was 5 for my wedding, and we have a nest egg that you can pull from and just kind of budget through, then that would definitely be my recommendation. Would be kind of getting it done sooner, maybe 3 months, 6 months, maybe 8 months, something like that, because you're gonna get some great results. You also are gonna lock in same year pricing. One thing that a lot of people don't know is that prices change every year. I've walked through things with clients where they've had to reschedule their wedding by a year, and things go up. Everything goes up. Every vendor is going to charge you more if you wait longer. So people increase their rates of venue, everything goes up. So not only may you get some discounts on your venue, you're also going to lock in this year's pricing versus paying next year or 2 years from now's pricing. So that's good. Now, if you are someone who's like, ooh, man, I was planning to just now start saving for my wedding, then yeah, maybe an 18-month timeline may be better. And maybe you should wait a few months before you start booking things as well. Like maybe wait until you're 12 months out to book a venue, like 14 to 12 months out to book a venue. Save some money first, so you have that nest egg to start working with. Those are some options. Now, of course, it's easier to tell what's going on now than later. It's a little bit easier to see, what your future looks like now. But realistically speaking, even if something was to happen, and let's say, God forbid, a department was eliminated or something happened with your job, you probably will find another one within 18 months. You probably will be, moving on to something else quickly enough to be to resume planning on that event later on. All right. For most people, I would say that the shorter time frame is probably going to be less stressful. There's just less anxiety because it's sooner, but I think that you have to decide for you which of those two will work. But I would say one of those two will work. Either a shorter time, condense your time frame, or give yourself way more time, right? So that you can make decisions later on. Now, the last piece of advice that I have is to consider some alternative wedding vendors. And I know that this could be seen as controversial, but the truth of the matter is that, first of all, it's 2026. There's a lot of innovation that has been going on in the wedding industry, in the way that we deliver services and in the way that we do things, in the same way that there's innovation in every other service, right? Right now, you can get legal advice online. You can see a doctor online. There's telehealth. There's so many things that you can do. So innovation has also come to the wedding industry, and there are alternative wedding vendors that you can seek. Particularly, I do have a guide linked in the description with multiple alternative vendors in the floral design space, where you can get really amazing florals at a lower rate. Through our partner at Poppy, you can get wedding lighting at a lower rate. And then of course, there's us. When I talked earlier, I mentioned Wedded Details is our sister company at Statuesque Events, and it's the thing that I'm most focused on in this point, because I really want wedding planning to be more accessible for people. Over 70% of people every year go without a wedding planner, and I understand the reasons, right? It's expensive to hire a dedicated consultant that delivers wedding planning in a traditional way. It is expensive. So I've spent a lot of time going back to my engineering brain and my management brain and lots of other things, creating a service that still gives you support from beginning to the end, or support in the final details if you've already put a lot of things together. Gives you excellent support using our years of experience, our templates, our standards of excellence for weddings, but at a very small fraction of what it costs to hire a wedding planner. And all of that is packaged in Wedding Details. We have a full service package from beginning to end planning. We have a classic package, which is more if you've booked all your vendors and you're like, oh, what do I do now? We organize everything for you so you understand the adjustments that need to be made so your wedding day goes smoothly. By the way, we've never reviewed anyone's details who's booked their own vendors and not found mistakes, including when we've audited other wedding planners. We've had other wedding planners and event planners hire us, and we still find things that need to be adjusted so the day goes smoothly. So we recommend, those services. We also have our I Do desk, which is just a place if you just are like, I just want a place so I can ask a question and get one answer, right? On a lot of these online forums, you ask a question and you get 100 answers, and now you have to figure out which answer is right, and you're just spinning in circles, which creates a lot of anxiety. In this case, you ask a question and you get one expert answer through our I Do desk. Considering alternative wedding planning, right? In the same way that there's, you know, more modern ways of getting legal advice, more modern ways of getting medical advice, and all other kinds of advice. Here we are with more modern ways of planning your wedding. So again, grab the guide. It's in the description. Also the link to learn more about wedded details in the description as well. But again, you can save a whole lot of money trying some of the alternatives that we have. The guide basically is on 4 different ways to save 10 grand on your wedding day. Okay, so a lot of ways that we have summarized in there with links to our partners that will help you to get there, who we trust and who are reputable. So those are some things that I would consider if you're nervous about starting the wedding planning journey, even though it's uncertain economic times. I remember during COVID walking through wedding planning with some of our clients, and how at first people were like, okay, we're willing to wait. But after a few months, you're like, I don't want to just sit on the sidelines. Like, I'm ready to get married. I found my person. I'm ready to get married. I want to move on with my life. What are our options for getting married? And if you're that person, you're not crazy. You're not selfish. It's normal. You're ready to move past this, you know, produce the milestone, have the milestone, and move on. And I've just given you 3 keys to help you get there. All right. So I hope you enjoyed this. Share this video with someone who may need to hear it. Make sure you like and subscribe, because we have a whole lot more content coming your way. And once again, make sure you grab the guide in the description box if you haven't already done so. All right. Happy planning. We're going to get through this. It may be a rough time economically, but we're going to get through this, and we're here to help you. All right. So cheers, and we'll see you in the next video.